off-putting? Not anymore. Now, darkness. Darkness. Everywhere, darkness. Can't see the flabby tum-tum walking around. Yeah, that's right. Leonidas has left the building and is on its way back to the big Toronto. Yeah. So the Audio Fest is coming in just a couple weeks. Lii-song was here, spent the day. Thomas was here, spent part of the day. We listened to several amplifier combinations with the Leonidas extreme open baffle speakers. Safe to say, everyone had a lot of fun. Man, can those speakers punch through your chest. For an open baffle speaker too, to punch like that, I mean, so far mine don't even come close to that. Nowhere near. Using the F15s, no way. Doesn't even come close. So the W15s pack a really nice punch. I think I'm gonna use mine as subwoofers, actually, as open baffle subwoofers. That's gonna be what I'm gonna do. And I'm not gonna put them in the same baffle. Nope, they're gonna have their own baffles. And I'm gonna set them up recessed behind. Kind of like I used to set up the rails in the room. I'm gonna try it anyway. We'll see what that does. So we tried the Leonidas with tried it with my amp, with the Melody 211 amp. Tried it with a Deckwear Tory. Tried it with Thomas's Galleon regular edition, special edition. Tried it with a overdone DIY luxurious solid state Class A amplifier. These are good speakers. Yeah, they're a lot of fun. They really are. They're not perfect. No speakers are. But what they do, or what they give you the option of, which a lot of speakers can't do, is flexibility. What I mean by that. So when you order the baffles, the Leonidas baffles, technically when you order them for whatever, $3,800 or $3,000 for the baffles, something like that. Price, I'll put the price here. They don't come with drivers. So you got to order a pair of W15s separately, and you got to install them in there. So it's like a semi-DIY speaker build. Why? Because you don't need to be a DIYer to assemble it. It's very easy, and it comes with a crossover, so you don't need to know much about electronics. It's all labeled. It's very easy to do. So you pick your drivers, but you kind of need a W15 in there. But although I would be curious to try an F15. No, never mind. So you get a W15, and then you have a choice between, you can order the silver 10s, which work. I think they sound great. I think everybody that heard them here said that they sounded really good. But for an open baffle application, the silver 10s QTS factor is kind of low. So QTS factor gives you that indication of how the speaker, the driver will perform without an enclosed box. So a low QTS factor, I think a QTS factor under 30 or under 0.35, sorry, under 0.35 or 0.40. There's a little bit of speculation in there. Under 0.35, 0.40, the speaker will perform better if it's in a proper enclosure, so that the air pressure from the box is going to help the driver actually bring out more of the mids, the low mids, and the bass. So in this case, the silver 10, the QTS factor is under 0.3, which would mean that it would require an enclosure, a box. And I believe that, because when I listen to the Origin 10 speakers, which use the same silver 10 driver, that box brings out the magical mid-range. Now, don't get me wrong, the Leonidas has a great mid-range, but I think that that mid-range is there and compensated by the W15s that go up to the 2,000 to 5,000 hertz range. So I think that gives you an idea why Lii-song developed these this way. I think it was, my hunch is that they wanted to be able to make the silver 10 used in this open baffle. So they made the W15 to come and compensate to that frequency range where the silver 10s start to lose a little bit of their potency in an open baffle. So it's good, but is it as magical as a silver 10 in the box as far in terms of mid-range? I don't find it is. I find the real magic is when that silver 10 is in a box. So why am I saying this? Is that if you order Leonidas baffles, you have the choice. You can go to a fast 10, which is half the price of a silver 10. And no, it is not half the performance. Because the fast 10 has a higher QTS factor, so it will go down a little bit lower in an open baffle than the silver 10 will in an open baffle. So what I'd be curious to try, and I might in the future, is put a silver 10.
Oh, you're dumb. Not a silver 10, a fast 10. Come on, man. Pay attention to your own writing.
In the Leonidas. And I think I've seen pictures online of people or someone doing that. If you have one and you have a fast 10 instead of a silver 10 in your Leonidas, send me a message or email me, hifi@gmail.com. I'm curious. I want to know what it sounds like. And what's my point of reference for this is that I have a fast 8 drivers in my baffles. And when I listen to the fast 8 and I compare them to the silver 10s, yeah, there's a small amount of difference when it comes to the top end. But I have to say, the mid-range on my fast 8s in an open baffle, I prefer them. And I know this because when I wired the silver 10s directly in the Leonidas baffle, and I wire my fast 8 directly, I get to hear what each individual driver does on their own in an open baffle. And I prefer the mid-range in my fast 8, but maybe some of you will prefer that sparkliness of the silver 10. So you have options. So you can pick your drivers with the Leonidas Extreme baffles. Then you also have the option of eventually upgrading your own crossovers. You then also have the option of biapping the W15 and the silver 10 or the fast 10 or whatever you pick and use an external active crossover. Let's say you can do that. It's very easy. But let's say you don't do any of that. You just purchase it. You want the silver 10, you want the W15, you want the stock crossover. Sounds great. Then you end up realizing that when you get home, you try your amplifier on it and the W15s using both their coils. That's right, they got 2 coils in there. So there's 2 taps, top and bottom. Each are 8 ohms. So when you're using them in parallel, that dips down to 4 ohms. And we did a little test, and at one point we saw 2.6, 2.8 ohms, something like that on the meter on those drivers. So they're power hungry, they need juice. But when you use both of those coils, the power is immense. And then if you add the wings onto the baffle, both wings, left and right wings, man, now you got real strong bass. Like this will fill a large room full of bass. But let's say your amplifier doesn't quite cut it, can't do it, which I'm telling you will be the case with a lot of smaller tube amps. So I think this is the speaker I think that is the exception, or so the black sheep in the family of Lii-song speakers, because all of Lii-song speakers used with single drivers, no crossover, they're all highly sensitive. They're all wonderful with little flea amps. They work super well. They sound great. But this one, you need juice. You need the torque. You need the damping factor to be able to control these drivers. But because it has 2 coils, if you wire only a single coil, in our experience, we tried it with all the amps, 1 coil, 2 coils, 1 coil. So every time we switch amp, we tried all of them. Like with the Galion, man, in my room, I only need one coil with the Galion because the Galion is bass is jacked. Like it pushes. It's fine. But when you put 2 coils with the Galion, oh my goodness, my walls shake. But then I switched to a softer amplifier, like an amplifier that's got a little bit less torque, a bit less damping factor. I go down to 1 coil, and I get a very natural bass, very satisfying bass. It won't satisfy bass heads, but it'll satisfy everyone who's into jazz, who's into blues, who's into classical. Maybe the big orchestral classical I find you always want to substitute with a sub. You want to add a sub in there because the halls are so massive where they record these pieces that you lose a lot of the effect of the orchestra when you don't have subwoofers. The Leonidas, you can pick your driver at the top that you want. You can do your own crossover, which I highly recommend for those who are into it. You can bi-amp them, which I've tried, and it was really cool. It wasn't perfect because I didn't properly match the gain with both amplifiers, but I'm lucky because my preamp has a high gain and a low gain. I think there's a difference of 3 dB between each, or 6. I'm not sure. So basically, I used the solid state. I used the solid state at -6 dB for the W15 drivers with both coils, and then I used my the regular +6 dB output. No, it's -3 and +3, so it gives a difference of 6 dB. So the +3 dB I used for 300B monoblocks, which is just 6 watts per channel, to push the silver 10s. Man, I could tell it wasn't perfect because there was still, there was somewhat of a mismatch, and there's a little bit of smearing now because the silver 10 and the W15 were just overlapping each other a little bit. And I felt that, I think, in the lower mids, but it felt like a veil was taken off by amping them as opposed to using the crossover. But you're not going to know this until you do it yourself, so don't worry about it. Yeah, so you pick your own drivers. You can choose 1 coil or 2 coils to wire the W15s in. You can choose to put the wings on. You can choose to put only 1 wing on each of the speakers, which I tried because it still creates a bass cone. And you can choose between putting the wing on the inside of the speakers based on your room, try the wings on the outside. So the flexibility with the Leonidas is just amazing. It's awesome. You can just fine-tune them to your liking and to your room, so that they shine. And they have that open baffle goodness. The soundstage is big. It's deep all the way into the back of your room. They sound their best in my room. They sound their best when I have them 7 feet away from the front wall. I've tried them all the way up to 3.5 feet from the wall. I found that when they were 3.5 feet of the wall, the bass was just too much in my room because I guess it's a combination of things. So I have a little bit of an indentation in the back of my room, so you feel the bass resonating out of that, I guess, little cove within the cave. Or it's that, or it's a combination of the sound wave, the low frequency sound wave having just a couple more feet to develop. Yeah, but man, what amazing value with the Leonidas. They look good, very simple, nice gloss black in the front. You have the beautiful bracing in the back with like a veneer finish on it. Good looking speaker. And then it's all open, so it's easy. You can choose to wire them with the speaker wires that you like. You can I've said this, do your own crossover. I strongly recommend you do that. So yeah, freaking amazing speakers. Absolutely amazing speakers. If you're in Toronto at the end of October, 21st, 22nd, I think, and 23rd, look it up, Toronto Audio Fest, or I'll link it right down here. Yeah, come check it out. They'll be on display. You get to meet Debbie, you get to meet Armando. If you come at the right time, you'll get to meet Thomas. I'll be there in and out for a period of time too. Making stupid jokes and nasty old man comments of how people are dressed and how people look off-putting in their fatness. Yeah, come check them out. Seriously, come check them out. Pretty cool. Man, it's cool. Yeah.
let's go with these one. These ones are like holy cow. It's like OMG, man.